Only one particular type of human being survives a narcissist longer, and it is never the person you might guess. The usually strong often fall apart while trying to fight them. Those having perfect boundaries simply leave before the deep change can happen. Jung stated that the unconscious makes its choice long before the conscious mind can understand the reasons. A narcissist does not form bonds by accident. They tune themselves to a specific nervous system, a specific history of strength that matches their issues, much like a key sliding into a lock. But here is the detail no one mentions. The survivor isn't the most calm or the most deep thinking. The survivor is the lonely one holding a special ability to turn the narcissist's poison into their own personal power. This explains why you were picked not as a victim, but as a candidate for a difficult change. Stay until the end, because the specific trait that pulled them in is the exact tool that will eventually break their control. You were picked by the narcissist because your early years taught you to put up with what others would immediately reject. The narcissist does not pick a partner based on love or real connection. They choose based on usefulness. They are hunting for a specific purpose. When they look at a room or go through a social app, they are not looking for the most shining or richest person. They are looking for the person with the biggest capacity for emotional work. They are looking for you. But why you? What did you show that sent the signal for them to move in? You showed the small, hidden signs of someone holding old, unhealed scars. Specifically, you showed the scars of the protector. Carl Jung noted that the unconscious mind shows itself to the world through our daily behavior. You might believe you are simply being kind, caring, or a good listener. But to a narcissist, your behavior shows something deeper. It shows that you are wired to put the needs of others over your own view of reality. This training usually starts in childhood. If you were raised in a place where the adults were emotionally stuck, moody, or far away, you had to adjust. You realized that to stay safe, you had to be useful. You learned to read the room. You learned to watch the faces of your parents to see if they were angry or sad, and you changed your behavior to fix their feelings. If they were angry, you became quiet. If they were sad, you became the helper. This is a survival tactic known as fawning. It is the ability to ignore your own safety instincts and instead become helpful to the source of the threat. You learned that the only way to handle chaos was to absorb it and fix it. Imagine a child watching their mother acting frustrated in the house. Their sibling runs away, but this child moves toward her, offering help, making jokes, trying to fix the mood. At 8 years old, they already understand that calming someone else was the only path to safety. Decades later, the narcissist sees that same reflex in you immediately. This scar always shows itself later in life, often during moments that seem small. You are on a first date. The waiter makes a mistake with the order. The person you are with says a mean, slightly angry comment to the staff. A person with no history of trauma would feel bad right away. They would see this anger as a big warning sign. They might even say that it was not needed, or they might decide right then that there will not be a second date. They see the behavior as bad. But you do not see it as bad. You try to explain it away. Your mind immediately begins making excuses for them. You think maybe they had a hard day at work. Maybe they're just picky about their food. I should help them relax. You smile. You change the conversation and you try to melt the tension. You take the emotional weight of their bad behavior onto your own shoulders. The narcissist sees this reaction, and in that moment, they know they have found their target. They see that you did not ask for respect. Instead, you tried to fix the situation. They realize that you are a person who will work to earn their approval even when they do not deserve it. They see a partner who is used to walking on eggshells. This is why they picked you. They need a container. The narcissist carries a huge load of inner shame and mess, but they refuse to feel it. They need a partner who will feel it for them. They need someone who will worry when they are gone, who will cry when they are cold, and who will attempt to fix their disasters. They need you to carry their dark side. You were picked because you are an expert at enduring. You have an amazing talent for tolerating pain. You can go weeks without having your needs met and you will still stay. You can be insulted and you will still try to fix the gap. You can be ignored and you will still try to find a connection. To the narcissist, this does not look like love. It looks like a resource. What they never understood is that the same scar that made you easy to use is the scar that eventually makes you impossible to destroy. Your ability to last wasn't a flaw. It was armor looking like love. They chose you because of your wound, but you outlast them because of your hidden power. Here's the part that hurts, but must be seen. Your empathy, your warmth, and your patience were turned into weapons. These are good traits, but without limits, they become dangerous. The narcissist did not fall in love with who you are. They fell in love with your trauma response. They saw a person who would never quit no matter how toxic it became, because that person believes that love is the same as suffering. But seeing this is the first step to breaking the cycle. This isn't a badge of honor. It's a sign that you are repeating a struggle that started long before them. You are trying to save them in the way you wished you could have saved your parents. You are trying to be good enough to finally be loved. The narcissist depends on you staying blind. They want you to think you're simply a kind person. But you're not just kind. You were trained to put others first even when it hurts you. And training can be undone. This is why only one type of person outlasts them. Not the strongest, but the one who is trained to carry what would have destroyed anyone else. If you felt something in you move while hearing this, some hidden truth coming to the light, join this journey now. Become part of a group based on insight, awareness, and the kind of growth that actually stays. In the next part, you'll see the next reason survivors stay, the hidden biological magnet that makes danger feel strangely familiar. That love is something you have to fight for. You learned that it comes with high stress. You learn that closeness is always followed by leaving. So when you meet a narcissist and they start the cycle of too much attention followed by slow pulling away, your body reacts. It knows the pattern. It says, I understand this dynamic. I know how to handle this. The tension you feel in your stomach, the butterflies, the stress is not excitement. It is fear. But because you have mixed up fear with passion for so long, you go toward it instead of running. It always starts quietly, almost without notice. You're dating someone new for 3 weeks. They message you every morning. They share music. They tell you that you are the most amazing person they have ever met. You feel a high. Your brain is full of dopamine. Then suddenly on a Tuesday, they don't message. You wait. You send a note. They answer 6 hours later with a single word. A person with a healthy attachment style would see this and think, that's rude. Or, they seem unstable. I'm losing interest. They would feel pushed away by the coldness, but you don't feel pushed away. You feel activated. Your heart begins racing. You check your phone every few minutes. You look at old messages to see if you said something wrong. You start performing. You try to be funnier, more lighthearted, more interesting to win them back. The removal of their warmth triggers a survival drive in you. You are chasing the dopamine rush. You are chasing the relief of them coming back to you. The narcissist naturally knows this. They work on a reward schedule that changes, what behavioral science calls intermittent reinforcement. This is the most addictive form of training known to researchers. It is the same logic that makes gambling addictive. If a slot machine gave a payout every time you pulled the handle, you would eventually get bored. If it never gave a payout, you would walk away. But if it gives a payout sometimes unexpectedly, you will sit there until you have lost everything. The narcissist is the slot machine. They give you moments of high validation, the win, followed by periods of coldness or bad treatment, the loss. You stay because you are always waiting for the next win. You convince yourself that the nice version of them is the real version, and the mean version is just a mistake. You tell yourself, if I can just be patient enough, the person from the start will come back. Jung called this the urge to repeat. It is the unconscious drive to return to the source of our first trauma in an effort to fix it. You are projecting your childhood needs onto the narcissist. You are hoping that this time the emotionally far person will finally become available. This time you will be worthy enough to make them stay. You are not just in a bond with a person, you are in a bond with your own history. This is why you feel like you cannot leave, even when you know they are lying to you. Your logical mind sees the truth, but your emotional brain is stuck in a loop. You are chemically hooked on the cycle of stress and relief. The peace of a healthy bond feels boring to you because it lacks this chemical spike. You mistake the lack of drama for a lack of chemistry. This realization is painful, but it is needed. You have to stop calling it passion and start calling it unbalance. You have to admit that the magnetic pull you feel is not fate. It is a glitch in your survival software. You are trying to find water in a stone because you were taught that stones are the only place water comes from. The narcissist is not your soulmate. They are a mirror reflecting your unhealed scars. They fit perfectly into the empty spaces left by your childhood, but they do not fill those spaces. They make them bigger. The moment you accept that this familiarity is actually a warning sign, you begin to break the spell. You start to see that the anxiety you feel is your body telling you to leave, not begging you to stay. You realize that you've been surviving on hope, the hope that you can rewrite the past by suffering in the present. If you've ever felt your body hold on to someone who is hurting you, acknowledge that feeling. It's the moment your nervous system stops mistaking terror for love. In the next part, you'll find out what happens when your nervous system stops confusing fear for love and how that moment starts the change that ends their power. Waking up starts the moment your survival reflex stops protecting the narcissist and starts protecting you. And that shift changes the whole dynamic. There is a common belief that the goal of the narcissist is to destroy you. And while it is TR, that they tire you out, the reality is that the narcissist depends on your survival. They do not want to break you so completely that you cannot function, because then you would be useless to them. They want you to remain in a state of pause, functioning enough to serve them, but too empty to leave them. The narcissist makes a big mistake. They underestimate the very strength they used. They assume that because you have accepted the bad treatment for years, you will accept it forever. They do not realize that for the type of person who outlasts a narcissist, there is a hard psychological line. There is a moment where the survival mechanism changes focus. This is the moment of change. Sometimes it happens in the smallest instance. You're driving home after another fight and suddenly feel a deep, silent tiredness, the kind that settles in your bones. No tears, no panic, just a calm reality rising inside you. I cannot go on. This change rarely feels like a movie. It feels undeniable. This awakening rarely happens during the high tension of a fight. It usually happens in total silence. It happens when you are driving home from work and you feel a wave of tiredness so deep it feels like it is in your bones. It happens when you watch them sleeping and instead of feeling love or annoyance, you feel nothing. You look at the person who has ruled your emotions for years and suddenly they look small. They look ordinary. Carl Jung described the process of becoming yourself as the journey of finding who you really are. He believed that this often needs a breaking down of the fake self. The bond with the narcissist forces this breaking down. You have tried every way. You have tried to be the perfect partner. You have tried to be the healer. You have tried to be the protector. And you have realized that none of it worked. You reach a point of ego death, the part of you that needed tea. Air approval to exist simply dies. You realize that no matter what you do, they will never truly see you. You realize that their promises of getting better are just words used to buy more time. And in this realization, the fear of losing them goes away. You are replaced by a deep understanding. I am losing myself, and that is the only loss I cannot accept. The shift shows up in moments like this. It's a Friday night. They start a fight just like they have 100 times before. They accuse you of being selfish because you want to visit your family. In the past, you would have joined in. You would have cried. You would have defended yourself. You would have canceled your plans to show your loyalty. But this time, something is different. You hear their words, but they don't hurt. You see their anger, but you don't feel scared. You see the manipulation trick. They are trying to make you feel guilty so you stay home and take care of them. You see the mechanics of it like watching the gears of a clock. And because you see it, you don't react to it. You simply say, I understand you feel that way. And you continue packing your bag. This is the moment you switch from being the target to being the watcher. The narcissist depends on your emotional reaction to feed their sense of power. When you stop reacting, when you stop trying to explain yourself, you are signaling that you have disconnected from their reality. You have left the game. This awakening is often joined by a deep flatness or detachment. Do not be scared by this. Jung taught that depression is often a necessary drop into the unconscious. It is your mind forcing you to stop. Your tiredness is telling you that the old way of living is no longer possible. It is forcing you to take back your energy from the outside world, from the narcissist, and bring it back to yourself. You are not detached because you are broken. You are detached because you are exhausted from holding up a lie. You are exhausted from trying to make a broken person whole. You are exhausted from betraying your own gut feelings day after day. When you finally admit to yourself, I cannot live like this anymore, you are not admitting defeat, you are declaring freedom. You are stating that the cost of the bond is higher than the value. You are realizing that you are alone in the bond and you have always been alone. But instead of this scaring you, it sets you free. If you are already alone, then you have nothing to lose by leaving. The survivor outlasts them because they eventually realize that the bond is not a safety net. It is an anchor, and the strength that kept you holding that anchor for so long is the same power you will use to cut the rope. Your shift shakes the narcissist because it removes the one thing their entire reality depends on: your emotional involvement. When you switch from being a player in the drama to a watcher of the mechanics, you break the basic operation of the bond. Their breakdown begins with one reality: it was never your love they needed, it was your energy. They do not need your love in the way healthy people do, they need your life force. This energy, often called narcissistic supply, is any form of attention that proves their existence and stabilizes their fragile self-worth. This supply comes in two forms, and they are equally valuable to the narcissist. Positive supply is your admiration, your compliments, and your warmth. Negative supply is your anger, your tears, and your frustration. If they can make you smile, they feel powerful. But if they can make you shout, cry, or lose sleep, they feel even more powerful. Your strong emotional response proves to them that they exist, that they matter, and that they rule your internal state. But when you wake up, you stop responding. You enter a state of neutrality. You stop explaining yourself because you realize they are committed to misunderstanding you. You stop defending yourself because you know the claims are made up. You stop fighting for the bond because you realize there is no bond to fight for. You simply exist in the space neutral and calm. This neutrality is a disaster to the narcissist. It breaks their ability to manage their own internal tension. Carl Jung described the idea of psychic energy as a vital force that moves between people. When you pull back your attention, you are physically pulling back your psychic life force from their system. They feel this loss deeply. They feel the empty space where your devotion used to be. When the narcissist feels this shift, and they will feel it instantly, they will panic because they cannot handle themselves. They will cycle through a predictable set of moves to try and force a reaction out of you. You need to memorize these moves so you can watch them happen without joining in. First, they will usually try to restart the cycle with charm. This is known as hoovering. They will suddenly become the person you fell for years ago. They will be kind, attentive, and magnetic. They might buy gifts, suggest a trip, or apologize for things they did months ago. They are trying to cause amnesia in you. They want you to ignore the bad treatment and focus on the fantasy. But because you have woken up, you will see this kindness for what it is: a trade. It is a bribe meant to buy your obedience. If the charm does not work, they will switch immediately to guilt. They will play the victim. They will say you have changed, that you are cold, or that you are leaving them when they need you most. They might fake a sickness or a crisis to trigger your protective reflex. They are trying to use your empathy against you, but the observer in you will see that they're suffering. An act. If guilt fails, they will turn to anger. This is a scare tactic. They will attack your character, your looks, or your skills. They want to start a fight because a fight means you are still connected. But you will not fight. You will remain steady. You will give them short, factual answers. This non-reaction breaks their illusion of power. When these direct moves fail, the narcissist does not simply give up. This is where the conflict switches from a private struggle to a public one. When they realize they can no longer control you directly, they will attempt to control how others see you. This leads to the more dangerous phase of indirect conflict. The first tool of indirect conflict is triangulation. This happens when the narcissist brings a third person into the mix to create jealousy or doubt in you. This could be a new interest in former partner or even a friend or relative. They will start talking about how this other person truly understands them in a way you do not. They might compare you badly to them. They might casually say that a peer finds them attractive, or they might spend hours messaging someone else while sitting right next to you. The goal is not necessarily to cheat, although they might. The main goal is to make you compete for their attention. They want you to feel insecure. They want you to work harder to take back your spot as the favorite. Jung spoke of the shadow projecting itself onto others. In this case, the narcissist projects their own fear of not being enough onto you. They feel empty. So they try to make you feel empty by proving that they can replace you. But when you are awake, you do not compete.